And we're back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy.
Woo!
Where we have a casual and informal discussion about Star Trek. Currently, we're on Star Trek The Next Generation. And today's episode is Brothers. And I have some brothers here with me. I have Starfleet Lord, also known as Jamie. Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. I like your setup over there. I know I already told you off the air, but
I have a microphone with 2 socks over it to prevent the microphone from getting damaged. Amateurs.
It's very distracting, is all I'll say. I feel like I'll be distracted the whole time.
It's like my calling card, you know. It's like if you see the socks, you know I'm coming.
That's true. Great. And we have Checker Prize. Welcome back, Checker Prize. Gary.
Well, thanks for having me.
All right, so today's episode is Brothers. Gary has not seen it recently, but he has seen it before. And Jamie, this was
before.
If I'm not mistaken, Jamie, this is your first time seeing it, right?
Yeah, it was my first time seeing it. As I was watching it, I realized this is probably a huge episode in the canon of the series.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
Yeah.
But it's funny, you seem to get a lot of Data episodes. I think, was it the last episode we talked about a Data episode?
Yeah, I think it was. It was about him creating. It was the episode where he created an android, like his daughter, right?
That's right. So I think you're like a Data, somehow cosmically Data. You're drawn to Data, or Data's
my favorite. Yeah, I mean, he's my favorite character. So you know what? I'm pleased. The last episode was called Offspring. That's what it was called.
That's right. All right. And then oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, this episode really showcased Brent Spiner as an actor.
I know.
Awesome.
We have to definitely talk about that. All right. I guess I'll. Gary, do you have anything to say about the episode before we begin that you recall about it? He's like, no. Okay. Gary, are you okay? He's frozen. Oh no, Gary's frozen.
Told us his internet connection. My God. Oh, there he is. Oh.
Where's my sonic screwdriver? You're super dodgy right now. Hold on, though.
Oh my God. I can fix this. It's like he's stuck in between, like beaming up between planets. There's like only.
I think this might. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Gary, are you there?
Yeah.
It's not.
Oh my God.
Oh,
have you unleashed your opinions on the new Doctor Who yet?
No, we can do that here on the show. But before we get to that, let me. And while Gary stabilizes, he's in the Mutara Nebula, and so it's very hard to get good signal.
I'm still here, guys. I'm just comfy.
This sounds like we're listening. I told you something about.
This is the joy of live TV. It's like, actually, this is a great homage to Jerry Lewis, who just passed away. We're trying to do a live TV show.
Nice.
Can you still hear me? Jamie, or
we hear you, but you keep coming in. It's like Star Trek 4 when Captain Kirk was trying to talk to Starfleet and he couldn't do it. It's the same.
Well, at one point, I'm gonna disappear and save the planet from the destructive probe. So I'm busy.
Very good. All right. I'm gonna do the episode summary. By the way, this coffee is very nice. I made it.
Oh, you made it yourself.
I made it myself. Yep. One of the few joys I have left.
Oh, come on.
So what was this? The episode summary. I guess we can just kind of like get through it together. But basically, we start out with young Mr. Potts. I forget his name already. I just remember his last name, Mr. Potts. This kid and his little brother, were playing in the holodeck, and the kid decided that it'd be funny if he convinced his little brother that he'd actually killed him. And so the joke turns awry, and the little brother feels so guilty that he eats a poisonous fruit, and then has to be rushed off to the nearest starbase. Otherwise, he'll die. He has like only a few days or whatever. Dr. Crusher even has him in quarantine. And so then the older brother is being like kind of reprimanded by Commander Riker, and they order Commander Data to take him down to see his brother. And all of a sudden Data freaks out and takes over the Enterprise in a really awesome sequence of procedural like cool techno stuff. Anyways, he takes over the Enterprise. He even fakes Captain Picard's voice, which has been used many times in popular culture since this episode. I don't know, Jamie, if you know who Pogo is, but he's a favorite.
I don't.
He's a favorite here on Starfleet Boy.
Is that right?
Absolutely.
I'll send you a link after the show.
Okay.
But anyways, Data takes the ship over and completely owns it. No one can get into the ship. He steals it, takes it to a planet, beams down, and is reactivated by a strange-looking old man who looks like Miracle Max from The Princess Bride. And
Yeah. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
And then, well, anyways, it's revealed that this is actually Dr. Noonien Soong, who is his father, who is his creator, and he has always been intending to give Data a chip that will activate or emulate basic human emotions, is what Data's been like dreaming about. But you know, as with all like beautiful reunions, it's always spoiled somehow by Data's twin brother Lore, who also was drawn by this homing beacon. Oh, I forgot to mention that Dr. Soong turned on a homing beacon that apparently can bring Data back to him from anywhere, which is why he stole the ship. So anyways, a similar thing happened to Lore. Lore shows up. He's all bitter. He's awful until Dr. Soong reveals that he's dying. And then Lore all of a sudden seems to be softening up to it. And there's this whole dramatic scene, and how Data, it shows really well how Data doesn't have, you know, how emotions and non-emotions affect a situation. Anyways, meanwhile on the ship, little Willy Potts, that's the little one's name. I forget. I still can't remember his older brother's name. But anyways, Willy Potts is not doing too well. They've only got a little bit of time to get him to that starbase, and so the crew start trying to figure out how to get back, get to the planet basically, so they can figure out what the hell's going on. So they network together a bunch of tricorders and beam down. Well, before they beam down, whoa, what was that? That was Tracker Prize.
He's gone. There was an emergency.
There's something happened. Good grief, Tracker Prize.
Oh my goodness.
Before they figure out how to beam down, though, we discover that Lore has been faking. This is the best thing ever.
He's just cleaning his room. It's an impulse move.
Tracker Prize, come back. Anyways,
I'm still here. Sorry, I just remembered I have a Wi-Fi booster somewhere, and I just want to use it. Maybe I can help, but I can't find it. So
that was very nice, and it reminds me to what? The audio for this is going to be really interesting.
It's going to be really, really embarrassing for me.
No, it'll be fine. Anyways, Gary, I'm just wrapping up the summary, which is already too long.
Okay.
So it's like, what are we at here?
It's very logical.
It's 10 minutes. 10 minutes, people. We are rambling about this episode for 10 minutes. So anyways, it's revealed that Lore tricked Dr. Soong, and now he has double emotions, whatever that is going to mean for him. And Data's knocked out, and so Lore goes away. The crew of the Enterprise beam down too late to prevent anything from happening. Oh yeah, there's like a struggle, and poor Dr. Soong falls, and now he's going to die sooner than he was already going to die. And That's it. So Data and Dr. Soong have this moment together, and then they beam back to the ship, get young Willy Potts back to Starbase 39, I think it is, with enough time to get the treatment that he needs, and everything is nicely tied up. And at the end, Dr. Crusher asks, well, their brother, or something's going on, and Data's wondering whether or not, why they can reconcile so easily. And Dr. Crusher says they're brothers. Brothers forgive each other. So the question remains, will Data ever forgive Lore for what happened today? And there you go.
Great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So, well, you know what? I'll just start. Maybe this is rude podcast etiquette, but I'll start by asking you what you thought the episode was like. What are your thoughts?
I
think
love this episode. I remember being really
the first time.
Yeah, even the first time I saw
Someone
it.
else.
Oh,
So
what happened? What happened? Gary, what are you saying? Gary, I'm gonna eject you and then re-invite you. I don't know if you can hear me, but you're gonna be ejected. I'm ejecting you officially from the podcast.
I'm still here.
I'm gonna eject you, and then you figure out your internet and come back.
You've been ejected.
You're gonna get ejected from the show, but I will send you an invite.
Beam me up.
Get it under control, Gary, and then we'll
Right. Do what you have to do.
All right, yes, I apologize. Here we go. Ejecting the warp core, as they say. I've ejected Gary.
That's brutal.
I know. I've never had to eject. That was not a ill will ejecting, mind you.
You should get a sound effect for that every time it happens.
Ejected.
Well, it's like ejecting the warp core. So now I'm gonna re-invite Gary. Hopefully he'll. Well, let's wait a few minutes, and then will you remind me to re-invite Gary?
We're gonna forget about him.
We won't. We definitely won't forget.
We're gonna come back to this point in the episode.
There's other people I invited that might actually come on randomly. So
okay.
So
cool.
Who knows how the show will go? But I believe a sketch comic hero such as yourself and a young ingenue such as myself can handle just about anything.
We should be all right. Okay.
So I remember. Excuse me, burping. I remember when I was a kid, I really wanted to be Data. Like, I really wanted to remove emotions completely from my personage, and I actually did a pretty good job of
You're
practicing.
the most emotional person I know.
Only because I did the Data thing. Because when I was a kid, I was trying different things out,
Right.
And so. So Data was always like a hero of mine, but then there was Lore. So I don't know, for you, did you ever see the episode introducing Lore, his brother, or was that like a total surprise?
That was a total surprise.
Okay.
I didn't know the lore about Lore, so to speak. That was an insane pun. Yeah, no, I didn't know anything about him. When he showed up, it took me by genuine surprise. Like, to see Brent Spiner act so emotively. It really shook me.
Well, Brent Spiner is an amazing performer, and he gets to do this. This was like the best I've seen, or that I can recall, and that was another exciting thing about this episode, was that you had Brent Spiner playing off of Brent Spiner, playing off of Brent Spiner. It was brilliant.
It was awesome. It was basically just him flexing his acting abilities as much as he could. I liked it a lot. I liked watching him go, because so the episode starts and he's Data, and then he becomes evil Data on the Enterprise, and he's locking down the entire ship.
Right, you're like, what's happened to him? That's right.
Right. And then he meets his creator, and then he becomes normal Data again. Then Lore shows up, and he's like kind of cocky, sassy, emotional Data. And also just watching them interact with their creator, who, as you mentioned, and I actually thought maybe they had just used Billy Crystal in makeup, like from the Princess Bride set. But like watching Data and Lore interact with their creator was messed up. It was really good, messed up in like the best possible way.
It's true. Okay, I reinvited Gary just to see.
Okay.
Poor Gary. I have to say that one of the things also that stood out about this episode and still lived up to it, rewatching it every time, is I really enjoy the whole scene where Data flips out, because you're really wondering what the heck is going. You have no idea what is going on, and even though I already knew, I could imagine for you watching it the first time, you were probably like, "Oh crap! What is going on?" You could tell.
I had no idea what was going on, and it's a long sequence too. It's like a full, it's like 8 minutes. It's like
that's what's rewarding about it, is that like it's not an easy thing to steal the Enterprise. It's got to be like the most difficult thing you could possibly imagine, and Data just goes through it with such ease. Like he just kind of like. No, but like not ease. It's very difficult, but just watching him do all the procedures is pretty awesome.
He's surgical about it.
Yeah,
he knows exactly what move to make and when to make it.
Exactly. Gary, are you back?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Probably. Am I?
Yes, now you sound fine. Just for a moment.
Well,
did you do your boost or whatever it is to your internet?
Still installing the booster.
Were you able to?
Kind of so embarrassing.
This is a weird thing, and whatever. It's casual and informal. But did you unplug and plug in your router? Like, do you ever do that over in the UK?
I did that already. I have this little flip. I'm using at the moment. It's like a communicator, but it's a Wi-Fi booster.
Oh wow!
Whoa.
Yeah, hopefully it'll help.
Could you lower your bandwidth
So
on your, up here in the Google Hangouts, there's a little gearbox, like a settings thing.
Hang on.
You should be able to change.
I don't have anything. Just
change it from HD to like change the bandwidth somewhere.
By the way, this is Starfleet. This is a Star Trek podcast, but it's also a Google Hangout tutorial.
It is. It's totally true.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, but we've never had this.
I don't know what to do or how to do it, but it says it's okay. Oh, adjust bandwidth usage. There you go.
There you go.
Auto HD medium. I'm a medium now.
Now you're medium.
Am I okay? Medium. I'm medium.
There you go.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
You can even go down to low quality. I think the sound will still come out really nice. So
I don't want to brag. Yeah. I don't want to brag, but I'm in HD, guys.
Are you on fiber in the Montreal?
Yeah, we are on
the fiber
internet, I think.
Jim, lots of fiber.
Yeah, the Metamucil of internet connections.
Oh, good grief.
Yeah.
And we did. I think Gary just froze again.
I think so too.
I might have to eject you.
Oh, no. Permanent ejection.
I might have to eject you. Gary, I might have to eject you permanently from this conversation, which I don't want to do. But how could you follow along? Oh my god.
Hang on.
Okay.
Don't eject. I mean, you can eject me, and I will join after I fix this thingy magic. I hope it will work, and then I will just be back.
All right, cool.
I will jump into it. Honestly,
right. I think it's still a great episode, considering all the technical difficulties we're having. So get back to it.
Somehow the guy with 2 socks on a microphone is currently winning the technical battle.
I have to edit a lot.
That's okay. I don't mind editing. All right, ejecting Gary. Gary has been ejected.
There's your soundbite.
Good. Okay, so wait, we were talking about the kind of technical precision with which he anticipates all the counter moves the crew's trying to make. I do have a couple of there's a few things that watching as an adult that I have questions about. Maybe I'm not seeing something. So it's always good to have these discussions. But like, one, are you familiar with what the holodeck is, Jamie?
Yep.
So this kid eats a fruit on the holodeck, according to what I understood, and then still gets sick from it, which to me is a little baffling because it's all holographic. Or
Right.
like, why would you recreate viruses or deadly poisons?
Yeah, it seems like a major design flaw in the whole holodeck. It's like
Yeah.
the most brilliant piece of technology ever invented. But for some reason, the creator felt the need to put all diseases, like actually, like we can't just pretend that these things are infected. No, we need to just actually infect them.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then that to me says also that you can create basic life forms in the holodeck because
Yeah, it's odd. It feels like maybe the holodeck has just actually, I mean, if they can create life, then what are they even doing exploring space? They don't have to.
right.
Wow.
It's
Yeah, I guess this podcast is over. We just figured out the main flaw in Star Trek. All of it is
maybe it's
meaningless.
true. But not only that, no one really seems to be concerned with this flaw at all in the episode. Like it never comes up that like, well, that seems like a problem we need to fix. Like it's
We just poisoned a child. We should probably think twice about this.
on a holodeck. It's kind of crazy. So I don't know. That was kind of when I realized that it kind of robbed something from the episode because I never realized it before. So I guess that's what.
Yeah, I just can't see. Like I don't know why they would do that. Maybe in the future, space travel has to be privately funded because, of course, as you know, based on current events, there's no funding for space programs coming from our government. So maybe like a pharmaceutical company was like, "Hey, make sure the one thing you don't do is stop people from getting sick, and we'll fund all your space exploring endeavors." And the holodeck, like the Shoppers Drug Mart holodeck, was designed. I don't know if that's a thing in the States, Shoppers Drug Mart.
That's a very reasonable explanation based on knowledge of current events. But according to Star Trek lore, humans are way past all that. Like there's no
capitalism.
Money. Yeah, there's just no money.
Right.
Money no longer is a thing. It's like, oh, yeah. you can the apparently the holodeck now too. But I might be just answering my own question, but the replicator can create food and things like that, so people don't need food. So maybe the holodeck is essentially a giant replicator, so maybe it doesn't know to filter out certain things. I do think it is weird though, because it's not the first time it happened. There was a previous episode where Wesley was on the holodeck and manages to catch a cold or some kind of weird virus while skiing somewhere. Like he gets some weird alien virus, and then it happens. It's happened before, and they still haven't fixed it from that episode to this episode. So there's some serious negligence going on aboard the Enterprise that I didn't know about back in my childhood. I thought,
I feel like maybe they were like, oh well, maybe the network will let us do like a spin-off about the scientists who have spent all 8 seasons of this show trying to fix that one problem with the holodeck, but the whole series will be about it. So let's not explain it right now.
Do you think that there could be like a compromise that's going on, like where they're like, we know there's this flaw with the holodeck, but the holodeck provides so much good that you just have to be really careful. So when you're going in the holodeck, realize you can still get a virus or get eat something.
Yeah. I think that's the most reasonable explanation for it.
Nice.
I mean, what else could it be, right? Scotty said he'd fix it, but he hasn't yet. So you can probably let the kids go in there. It's fine.
So the other thing I caught, which is a little less, this one's a lot more of a less of a conundrum and more of a just what would I have done moment, right? And so I was thinking about it, and like Captain Picard is locked out of command of the computer. It's pretty awesome that the way the computer works. It's like it recognizes oh whoa, I'm getting
Oh,
it.
no. Have you been invited to another? Are you just gonna leave this hangout? I'm gonna have to finish this episode solo.
Hold on, I'm gonna let Gary know that I invited him.
Yeah, let him know about that power dynamic. Who invites who?
Wait, so Gary, you're on the wrong station. You're on.
Oh, what up?
This is so trippy. Look.
Oh man.
We've got to get you back to the future.
Oh, it's like he's trapped in what's that movie, or maybe it was an
Superman.
episode of Star Trek?
It's
yeah,
Superman.
it's Superman. Exactly.
Look, Gary,
Am I back now?
there you're back.
Ah!
Wow, that was kind of cool. I transferred you
Yeah.
from
Oh gosh.
to my computer.
It's definitely like an out of this world experience for.
Yeah, you were like General Zod, and in Superman. That's right.
And now I know to put my phone on silent. But
And you see, I can see you totally normal now. My sci-fi
Your sci-fi.
sci-fi signal. Yeah. No, my Wi-Fi signal is pretty good now. I can see everything better.
Don't mess with
Which is kind of a shame because it used to work with my laptop normally.
Don't move the booster around. Trust me. Just
No,
don't move it.
Gary, we can't hear anything you're saying.
What?
So Gary, we were just talking about how we noticed that there was a weird thing that you can get sick from the holodeck. That like the little kid Willy, he eats this fruit and it's lethal, and so he got like a virus or some kind of bacteria or something that made him. But
it's
sick.
holographic. It's just
right. So that's what we were saying. It's like,
forceful.
how is it that this happens? And we came up with a really good explanation that you'll have to listen to.
Yes.
That's because you weren't there. No,
bad boy. No, go on then. Tell me.
But then wait. So then we were going to talk about this other situation where Captain Picard that I noticed, and this one I think you'll enjoy chiming in on as well. But Captain Picard, he's locked out of the computer system, and it's kind of neat how the computers, I thought when I was watching this episode again, how the computer kind of recognizes this whole hierarchy based on your voice print identification and probably other factors, right? Like it knows you're aboard the ship or whatnot. So I thought like Captain Picard tried everything he could to get command of the computer, but Data was just, a few steps ahead of him, and he was even using his own, Picard's voice. What I might have done differently, of course, I have the knowledge of the episode as an entirety and how to, how everything played out. But what I might have done differently is I would have said to the computer, where is the living Cap Picard? And the computer would have had to have detected his biosigns in engineering, and then I would have told the computer to override the previous command based on the fact that alive Picard is, biosignal Picard is actually in engineering, and gotten back control of my ship. But Captain Picard didn't think about that.
I have to admit that's clever though.
I mean, I feel like that's why you couldn't be in the writer's room for this show. Everyone's like, no, we had a good story. It's fine. No one's going to think of that. No one's going to think of that. That's too complicated. Yes, but you're right. You just would have made everyone's lives so hard. Like Gene Roddenberry would have fired you episode 2.
Well, I'm only, the trick about this though is that the only reason I have this trivial knowledge in my head is because of Star Trek. So I could not exist as I am without the writers that wrote Star Trek. So no, they get all the credit for being amazing and fantastic. And I'm not trying to say.
No, I know. We're trying to say Star Trek Discovery, if you're listening and you need writers for the next season, go,
or producers or janitors to help clean the set, or any minor job. I'm not above bringing coffee to everyone who needs it, or donuts, and all those good things.
Totally. Same. Just hit us up.
But I will be opinionated, just an advance warning. Hopefully that can be expected. So yeah, that was the only other thing. that I that I thought of that I would have done differently as Captain Picard the character. What about you guys? Anything like that stood out to you?
Go ahead, Gary.
I don't even know where should I begin, or should I begin? Actually, I don't know. No, I don't know what you've been talking about because obviously I've been cut off here and there, and I've been ejected a couple of times as well. But overall, the episode was actually, I think, I find it quite cool. Obviously, Data was possessed by someone or something in the Enterprise, so that's quite an out of force that actually controlled him, and he didn't even know what he was doing when he just ended up in the planet, as far as I remember. But correct me if I'm wrong. So it was kind of interesting to see how an android can be possessed and take over the ship just itself. So there's a ship with 1,000 people on board, and one android can override everything. Literally,
Yeah,
one android can screw up the ship.
It presents a really
never with everyone, but
it presents a really dangerous situation. You're absolutely right. I mean, like, luckily, Willy Potts had about 36 hours before things got crazy. So
and back to your so I mean, I don't know what was the explanation, but I've been thinking there's only, well, if I think there could have been one explanation for this, how I can get sick from the holodeck, but it still doesn't make any sense though for me. If the security protocols are offline, because if the security protocols are offline, even a holographic bullet can kill you, as we got to know from Star Trek: The First Contact, or even Star Trek Voyager, because B'Elanna Torres had some weird experiments over there in later seasons. So if that's true, if you can get the security protocols offline and everything that in the holodeck, it can be actually real, because that holodeck basically works as a replicator or the same basic principles. So if that being cut off, that might be the reason why he got sick from the fruit.
Yeah, that's true. And Jamie and I came up with this reason that maybe it's an anomaly that the scientists of the future don't know exactly why it happens, but they put a disclaimer on the holodeck that we've never seen as the audience that says, warning, some microbes and viruses can still, work or function somehow on the holodeck. So eat stuff at your own risk.
Maybe that wasn't even the case. Maybe the holo-deck was infected with something that normally is not dangerous for any living being, but it got into his biosystem, and that's why he got sick. It might be something that I don't know, dust particle, or someone was just playing some weird games beforehand.
Either way, it's not what I want to have happen to me when I go into the holodeck. Like, I want to go into a fantasy world and be able to do things I wouldn't be able to do in a normal life. So I would want to be able to eat plenty of jum fruits or whatever they're called, and taste them without getting sick. Like, that should be a holodeck requirement.
What it's an odd question. It's tangential, but would you like to be able to eat those imaginary fruits and feel full? Would you like them to actually have nutritional content?
Right, exactly. No, you actually would.
It's a weird thing.
You would want to.
But then I think it would be nice to try. Obviously, it's not going to be the same as the real deal. But as I said, if the transporter and the holodeck works in the same basic principles, they convert energy into matter. Then why not? If they're basically just getting an apple out from the replicator is getting out an apple from the holodeck, so it could be as real as you get from the replicator.
Right, and food. So that might be a subroutine of the holodeck, is that provide a real food experience. So, like, when you're eating prosciutto on the holodeck, it's actually prosciutto. It's like,
yeah. But I think it's just my theory. I don't know. I might have a book somewhere, The Science of Star Trek, but I started to reading it, and it's just so complex and technical, and fall asleep in front of it.
What's really wonderful though is that there is a scientist out there who probably read that and was like, I can do this. And like, guess what? We actually have transported apparently like a photon from the Earth to a satellite. So that's something we've done as humans based on Star Trek.
That's nuts.
And I think the Oculus, have you guys ever tried any of these like virtual reality systems?
Yeah.
There's one, I don't remember where. I watched so much ancillary Star Trek, there's so much Star Trek information that finds its way to me, and so now I have stopped cataloging where it comes from, but I could have sworn I saw someone was creating a very realistic tour experience of the Enterprise D, of this Enterprise. So you can put on one of these like virtual reality headsets and tour all the Enterprise.
Oh, is that the one that I sent you?
Oh, Gary. Okay,
Yeah.
so you said that. No, thank you. No, oh yeah, whatever.
That memory of you was ejected.
Oh wow. I've been ejected today all day long. It's like, it's a really nice experience to be ejected.
It was a loving. It was how Spock ejects Kirk in 2009 Kelvin Star Trek, and then Kirk beamed back just like you did. You just beamed. You beam back.
Wait, you see, still, Kirk had to do the job, so.
And now I relinquish command of the Enterprise to you. But anyways, what was I saying?
We were speaking
on...
Oh,
so that's like a holodeck kind of ish. Like it's an early rudimentary holodeck. We're not actually immersed in it physically, but the 3D technology allows you to kind of like be in this virtual space, which is really exciting. I feel like, especially for when I was a kid, I really enjoyed bridge command play. I was in elementary school. You have to remember when Star Trek: The Next Generation came out. So one of the things my friends and I would do is we'd use our backpacks and we would set them down as though they were different like consoles, and we would take turns being the captain and doing like a battle sequence adventure, and we'd have to make up like things happening. So like if you were the tactical officer, which I often was, you were kind of like the dungeon master. So you would say like, sir, Klingon warships decloaking off the port bow, and then whoever was the captain would have to order like shields up, like all the procedures, everything like that. So now with these virtual reality headsets, you can actually have a scenario like that feels more realistic, where you're actually learning how to read the command buttons and everything else. So you can actually like do the complicated job of piloting a Galaxy class starship and getting into a battle scenario and things like that. And so it's a very Ender's Game type stuff there.
It certainly is.
But that's where I feel like we're headed.
I mean, we do have holograms of famous dead celebrities making appearances here and there. So we're probably not that far off from the real holodeck.
Have you ever seen one of these concert holograms, like Tupac's hologram or any of that?
I haven't had the pleasure. Have either of you?
Nope.
I've only seen video footage of it, which is taking away a crucial aspect of the experience. But people who have seen it have described it as otherworldly, like as if the person was actually there. And I find that extremely like I need to see it for myself, because it's like so exciting, and yet at the same time it sounds unbelievable. So
yeah, it sounds I think that hologram, that Tupac hologram at Coachella may have ushered in like may have tapped into like a new part of the human brain. Like it just like opened our minds up, made VR okay, and just like manifested it in the near future. I don't know. I think everything's changing, man. Those holograms, don't forget them. They're coming. Yeah.
Do you guys ever seen
Rising of the Holograms? That's gonna be the new movie from somewhere.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever seen the show Red Dwarf?
I haven't.
No.
It's a great show. Anyways, there's a hologram character. The show was made like in the 80s. It's a BBC show.
Have you seen Star Trek Voyager? There's a hologram character too.
No, I know, but this is before Star Trek Voyager. Anyways, the way that you know he's a hologram is he has an H on his forehead.
Oh yeah.
Whoa.
I remember the character from promo pictures, but I don't know anything about the character itself.
Here, let me pull him up real quick.
That's a great way to cut down your visual effects budget. It's like, well, we could make him look like a hologram, or we could just paint an ink on his forehead.
Here, I'll show you what he looked like. It's really great. I actually now want to watch this show. Maybe we should do a Red Dwarf spin-off episode. Okay, so Jamie, I don't know if I've ever shown you this, but you can actually, I don't know if we've done this experience before.
Share screens.
You can do that, yeah. So that's the hologram. The doctor will be very happy that I did this. That's the hologram character from Red Dwarf.
Wow. That is the best like budget cutting measure ever. It's great though. Yeah, I mean, why not? Why not just put a giant H on that dude's forehead?
So we get to oh, hello, are you guys there? Oh,
Yeah.
Wow, that was crazy.
Careful, Sohail, we might eject you.
Oh. Wow. Leave it to Starfleet lore to be the
That's right.
That's gonna be today's catchphrase.
eject
Eject the core. There you go.
Yeah.
Gary, I really am sorry I had to eject.
No, that's fine. No, I should have set it up this bloody thing earlier. So
it was a love ejection, tough love. It's froze.
I think you should
Hey,
go
guys.
back to the episode.
This is so cute. My cat's been chilling out and taking a nap here the whole time.
It's adorable.
It is Catterday too, so it's a really
Catterday?
Today's Catterday. No, today's no, that was so bad.
Nope. That is nope.
Today's Sunday. Not even
Yeah.
Saturday. Oh.
There's no fun nickname for that one. Sohail.
Even if you have one, it's
There
highly
is. It's called
illogical.
it's Fun Day. Fun Day. So what did you guys think of Data's father? What did you guys think of the character of Dr. Noonien Soong?
I thought I had seen the character somewhere. Look, I know we've already mentioned this twice.
Yeah.
I thought he was Miracle Max. It was a very similar makeup job. I liked him. I thought he was very typical of old men portrayed in that era. Like he archetypally could have been the Doctor from Back to the Future. Could have been Miracle Max. He could have been like the what's his name from the Page Master, who also played the Doctor in Back to the Future. It was just like that crazy old man archetype. I thought I had actually seen him in one of the episodes I formerly reviewed with you from season 2, where they visited this old couple on a planet, you know, that were left alone. I literally thought they recycled the character. So, you know, I thought he was like a bit like he's a recluse. He's alone. He has like a giant bookshelf with a ladder that slides. It's very cliche. You know, mad scientist. But
well, he is. I mean, so Dr. Soong, this is the first time we actually see him on Star Trek: The Next Generation, and he ends up. Well, anyways, you can imagine he looked exactly like Data when he was young, and he is kind of a controversial figure. He is a little bit of a mad scientist, and he's in the Star Trek universe. He's the only person that has ever been able to crack the secrets of artificial intelligence, and that's and to be able to put it into an android. So Data is the first sentient, artificially intelligent being, according to the Star Trek universe. Like no one had ever done that before. So he's quite a legendary figure as well. And so it's interesting because he is like finally seeing him portrayed. Like I think they did kind of nail it, but I think it could have been today. It would be played a little bit differently, for sure. But what I didn't really like was how he refused to listen to anything negative about lore.
Yeah.
Like, but also at the same time, that's a very like parental thing to do. I can remember so many times where either it could have been either way, where my sister had done something mischievous and I was trying to tattle on her and my mom wouldn't hear it, or I had done something mischievous and my sister was trying to tattle and my mom or dad wouldn't hear it. So there is something very like sincere about that as well.
Right.
But ultimately, yeah, I think you're right that he does seem like one of those characters. And Brent Spiner gets to play him, if I'm not mistaken, or an ancestor of his, a Soong character comes up in Star Trek Enterprise, which is many years later, but also 100 years before.
Oh wow.
Yeah, Arkin Soong. And that's the funny thing is because but in Enterprise they basically answer the question of how the Soongs become the sort of person who try to make androids. Because Arkin Soong in the Enterprise, sorry, this is a spoiler for if you didn't see. Shall I say that?
It doesn't.
Enterprise.
I think at this point, all those shows are like about 10 years behind us. So, just giving a spoiler warning is always a nice, polite thing to do. So feel free to give one, but don't be shy about spoilers on Starfleet.
Okay, so spoiler alert. So Arkin Soong started out as a genetical doctor. So he wasn't really into androids and making positronic brains. He was really into genetically enhanced humans, let's say. I'm not trying to poison the Enterprise series with this comment of mine, but or spoil any of you if you didn't see the season. But he was basically a bio doctor. He wasn't into biomechanics. He was into biological enhancements. And then at the end of the episode, he actually said, "It's like robotics and androids could be actually an interesting field to dive into. Might take a few generations."
So that's Dr. Soong's father or his grandfather?
That's well, I would say grandfather. Maybe father actually. Because he was like about, I don't know his age, how old he was, but he was Noonien Arkin Soong. That's how they call it in Enterprise. And then the very end of the episode, he thought, okay, I should go into robotics and positronic brains and develop those sort of things. It might take a few generations, and he said that, a few generations, and then I clicked. It's like, okay, that's a cool reference actually to Next Generation, and we're gonna see Dr. Soong as well. So it's a really nice tie between his Dr. Soong's grand or just father, but I would reckon it's a grandfather. And
well, it's like 100 years.
Played by Ben Spiner too. That's like quite a Soong character.
Enterprise takes place 100 years before the original series, and then Next Generation.
Yeah, so that's 200. Yeah. Well, actually, it can be his father then, because he's quite old, like 100 and plus something.
Oh yeah, I mean, like people are living longer today, which is exciting, and so
yeah. So it could be his father actually, technically. And yeah, but the first time I saw Dr. Soong, obviously he's like an older man, and obviously I recognize Brent Spiner under the makeup, but I don't know. For me, it just looked genuine. Like, okay, he's an old guy, and he's like an ancient, grizzled man, just still experimenting and doing his stuff as a crazy scientist. But I was watching an interview. Not was an interview actually. I'm pretty sure all of you know the or so the end of the journey or end of the saga, Star Trek: The Next Generation, the documentary.
I'm sure I've seen it
hosted by Jonathan Frakes, and there's a little segment with Brent Spiner when he actually said, until I got to the point when I had to play this role, this character, I never imagined and I never knew how to play a 100-year-old man. And he got to the point when he got the makeup, and that's thanks for Michael Westmore. He got the makeup. He said 90% of his acting in that episode as Dr. Soong, it was the makeup. It wasn't him. The 10% was him, and 90% it was the makeup, which is quite a quantified find it quite interesting to hear it from him. And he's still a good actor. Don't get me wrong; he's a brilliant actor. But having this statement from him, it's interesting.
I think it's true though. Like, I feel like, have you ever done stage? I know Jamie acts and he does like performance.
I do a little bit.
Have you ever done performance, Gary?
Yeah, I did one very cheap and very cheap Dr. Chaotica in my last data file a couple of weeks back.
Oh, but okay, but what I mean is stage performance, for example.
Yeah,
like,
I did that too.
You ever done like acting? So then you know that the more, like, if you're actually holding a sword in your hand, it just you feel more into the character.
I was a jestler, so
so
I just kind of be myself. I've been myself. That's it.
I agree with Brent Spiner's statement. I think it's true. Like, you have to, and this makeup is pretty crazy. I mean,
it's a very thorough makeup job. It is. Oh my goodness. The amount of latex on that face is
I don't know that, like, what it, however hundreds of 130 or 100 whatever years old he is. So I could only imagine it's like crazy. You must look like Yoda. Everyone must look like Yoda to some degree, which is like
yeah, a little less green,
a little less green. It's true. But I thought one thing that stood out about the makeup, other than the fact that, of course, it's brilliant especially for its time, but was the fingers. They really nailed it. The fingers were like swollen from edema, and like Dr. Soong's, the makeup just even on the fingers. A lot of times, people will forget that detail. You'll see like, especially on television, you'll see like someone like made to look really old in their face, but then their hands are still the hands of a young person. And I just thought that's what sold it for me, was like the details. Like, you actually saw he had like really like haggard looking hands as well. And then Brent Spiner, even like the way he plays him, crouched over, and there's like a huge height difference between Data and Dr. Soong. So there is this quality that, going back to that like kind of advanced age thing, where it's like you definitely lose height from your bad posture.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
Yeah, it's a real thing. So it was good. The makeup was convincing, I thought. I can only imagine what it's like to act with Brent Spiner, or opposite Brent Spiner. I think he's very amusing as a person. If you've ever seen him on panels and things like that, he's very, very naturally funny. But what it must be like to direct him in these scenes must have been pretty interesting. And I wonder if there's any information out there about that. That would be a neat thing to see, because lore is so different from Data, and Data's, and of course Dr. Soong, you could see reflections of both characters in him. What do you think? Well, we know what happens, Gary and I, but what do you think is going to happen with the future of lore and Data? Like, based on this episode, what do you think the logical conclusion would be?
That's a good question. I don't know. I was thinking about, so at the end of the episode, I was thinking a lot about his relationship with Laura and his relationship with his daughter from that Offspring episode, and I thought, well, maybe they just get a sitcom. But like all in the family, like just everyone living, it's like 2.5 men, but it's like 2.5 androids or something. But I don't know, I'm not totally sure exactly. It feels cliche to say a big fight, but it feels like maybe a battle of the minds. I'm not sure. What, if you don't mind me asking, what does happen?
So
did you see TNG? Just all of it?
No,
I haven't watched it all.
Yeah.
Then I would say don't spoil it.
No, it's okay. It's okay to spoil it. What do you do? What is your watching journey? You're just watching when we record, right?
Yeah, so I used to watch it in syndicated reruns, but it would play out of order, and
you're already messed up. You can just
yeah.
just
So
tell him.
I've seen all kinds of episodes, and I do love the show, but I've never watched it in sequence, and I definitely haven't seen all the episodes. So.
Okay, so you know what? I'll give you one actual fact. What can happen is Sohail will give you one, and you will decide which one is true.
Okay.
Great. I'm gonna get one alternative fact and one fact. Here we go.
Okay, here we go.
You can decide which one is fake news.
Okay. All right.
Go ahead, Gary. You go.
You start. It's your show, man.
No. I insist that you go first, so I can decide. I can decide if I'm going to tell the truth or the lie.
Okay. So basically, there's gonna be a bunch of bad guy. And there's really going to be a bunch of bad guy, and Lore is basically going to be their leader. Now, with this, what will happen is they're going to turn into, they're going to stay bad guys, but they're going to turn Data bad guy too, and Data basically going to disappear from the next generation.
Okay. Let's hear Sohail's version.
Not for long. Obviously, he will come back. He will disappear from next generation for a couple of episodes, and then he will come back as a changed android with Lore head in his hand.
Oh,
what do you think about that, Sohail?
That's pretty barbaric.
I think I mean, Gary pretty much nailed it. That's the okay. So this is how it really goes, Jamie.
That's exactly what someone who's about to tell me a lie would say.
What really happens is that we don't hear from Lore again until season 7, and when we do hear from him, he's back. Gary was actually telling the truth about that part. He's back with an army of androids that he created based on his schematics and his own schematics, but the one thing that they're missing is sentience. They just blindly follow him. And so what they're trying to do is capture Data in order to steal his positronic brain so that Lore can dissect it and then figure out the secret so that he can reactivate, so he can upgrade his army Datas, or his army Lores rather, these like not very smart Lores. Anyways, they do capture Data, and they do manage to crack open his skull and take out his positronic brain, and Lore's about to do an invasive scan on it, but then the crew of the Enterprise come in, of course, at the last minute and save the day. Geordi puts Data back together, but he's never quite the same after that. And then we find out that he starts to age, and that's how they explain in the movies why Data looks so much older than in the show.
Whoa. Okay, so wait, how is he not quite the same? Like, what's different about him aside from aging after he's been put back together? Like, what's different about him?
He's just there's some random kind of, I guess you could call it like bursts he'll have of like emotion, and so it's unclear as to whether his brain was actually damaged or not by Lore, or if Lore, who was killed, by the way, at the end of that episode that I told you about, it's unclear if Lore somehow transfers his own consciousness into the Data brain. So we don't know. It's a mystery as to whether it's Data or it's Lore, and the mystery never gets solved, of course, because Data gets blown up in Star Trek.
Oh no, are you serious?
Oh yeah, Data dies. Yeah, this is like he's gone.
When? In one of the movies?
In the movies, yeah.
How many movies did they make for TNG?
4.
Okay,
well,
so
3.5.
4.
Wait,
Whoa.
so which one of us was telling the lie?
I'm gonna go ahead and say Gary. I'm just saying he was probably lying. It felt like he was lying.
We were both lying to you.
No. No. Ejected.
Oh, wow.
I'm ejecting both of you. Wait, do I need to fact check everyone right now?
No, but it was just too much of a.
I don't think you will get any facts out of this.
It was too good to pass up. I actually can't remember.
Actually, I almost believed you. I was like, wow.
Wow.
But I know. It's
I have some
it's really
kind of
true what you said.
I have an air of authority in my
And
delivery.
to me, you do.
The real truth, Jamie, is that Lore does come back, and I don't remember his ultimate fate. Whether he's I think yes, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, his ultimate fate was that he was dismantled finally by Data. But he does actually start to. Do you remember the Borg, Jamie? Do you know the Borg?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So the army that we both talked about is a Borg army, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And so
The episode Descent, I guess that's the name.
part 1 and
The
part
title.
2.
Yeah.
And he Lore manages to take these Borg that are just kind of they've split off from the collective, and they've
been ejected from the collective.
They've been ejected from the collective, and then they so he kind of gathers them, and they're like the island of misfit androids or robots, and
he creates order for them.
For them,
basically.
He becomes like the central node or whatever. Anyways, he's very nefarious, and they even have their own Borg ships, and they're like cooler somehow. And anyways, there is a fight, so you're right about that. And Lore has to get dismantled. So he's sitting in storage somewhere, as far as I know.
Oh shoot!
Yeah.
What? Just sitting around in a closet
somewhere? Yeah.
That's
weird. Which is why it's interesting, because we find another Soong android in the movies, since we're just talking spoilers anyway, so you might as well know the fate of Data. He finds another android called B4.
Oh. Or B4.
So B4 looks just like I guess they Dr. Soong created B4 first, then Lore, then Data, and that's how so there's another robot. And so at the end of Star Trek
Nemesis,
thank you, Gary. At the end of Star Trek Nemesis, B4 somehow starts to show signs of Data's consciousness, because Data somehow transfers his consciousness to B4, which is all very reflective of Star Trek 3, where Spock puts his Katra into Dr. McCoy. And so we assume, and based on the comics and expanded universe, that Data reemerges through B4 as a consciousness, and then eventually becomes a captain of the Enterprise.
Whoa! That's cool.
Yeah,
no,
so
that's pretty sweet. I like that.
So now you know, and knowing is half the battle.
That's a fitting ending.
It is. I did like the scene where Dr. Soong clarifies, because it's implied in the episode, but had you seen the actual introduction of Lore, Jamie, in that episode, Lore taunts Data and says that Data was created before Lore and was deactivated because he was imperfect, and the colonists were scared of him.
Yeah.
When in fact we find out in this episode it was the other way around. And I do like the scene where Data's like, I am not less perfect than Lore, and he's like totally like,
yeah,
he's like kind of processing that, and then Lore's like, I am not less perfect than Lore. It's like such a very sibling appropriate thing. Gary, do you have siblings?
Yeah, 3 of them, youngers.
So we all have. What did you guys think of the sibling kind of dynamic here with the parent? Like, did you guys find it, obviously it was humorous, but did you guys find it to be like interesting or even realistic, or did you relate to it in your personal lives?
Well, as long as I was the only one who was watching Star Trek, and I was the nerd home and the black sheep, I kind of understood certain aspects of them. And there's always a rivalry between siblings and brothers, and I always thought of myself, okay, I should show a template or something to have to be better than not just like the others I met in my life. And I always stood up for myself. Even today, try to be a good man. It's it's hard, but it's kind of a difficult job with all this what's happening around the world and what sort of people you meet in your life. But either way, it's just
that was quite deep. I don't mind. I was like, whoa, where's Gary gone
No,
to?
no,
Yeah.
you change as how much people you meet in your life, and obviously you carry on the same sort of personality that you bring from home, and you who you are, and I'm quite happy I met along my life like you, Sohail, and now you, Jamie, and then even other people as well, um, who I really feel connected with, and it's a really good and a nice experience, and it enriches all of our lives. And with data and with lore, when actually data said this, like, okay, I'm not less than lore. It's basically, if you have a sibling, and two of my brother actually does much better in life than I do, in certain aspects of the life, and I've always thought it's like, okay, I'm not doing anything, and I'm older, and I should be like ahead of them, but I can't be ahead of them, and it is totally normal. I'm not less just because they're doing a bit more. I'm still who I am, and I still have to appreciate who I am, and I still a unique individual. Maybe I'm not doing as good as they are. Maybe I'm not doing as bad as the cat down the road. I don't know, and I think that's something that really goes into data as well. He realizes, and maybe he always wanted to be the person in his entire life, to that person who really want to make a template, show a perfect ideal image of himself, not the image that he thought it's bad, and that basically was lore, but he didn't know about lore, obviously, but maybe he had some memories about how he ended up where he ended up, and in his past. And then when he realizes that, I think that's just beautiful. He basically realizes, okay, I just lived in a scenario that I thought, okay, I'm doing something wrong, and I have to be successful, and I have to do what I have to do. I have to be a good man, a good android, in his case. And yeah, sorry, I'm just going on and on. So just shut me down.
No, it's that's you answered the question as I asked it. I mean, I asked you to relate it to your personal life, so that was very great answer. I I wonder, Jamie, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I thought it was like, I thought both instances were realistic or truthful portrayals of siblingship, especially with relations to parents. I think in more often than not, one sibling perhaps feels less nurtured by their parents, or like they are not the preferred child.
And that's basically what lore made Data feel like.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's always like a pain point for everyone in that relationship, and I think it's hard for parents to navigate. I think the episode explored that very well, or at least showed it very well. And yeah, I thought it was also like an interesting, speaking about little Willy Potts. It was interesting to see those two brothers interact, and kind of see the dynamic of like that classic child who's kind of a prankster, who gets away with things, but really deep down just doesn't feel maybe as loved or as cared for by his elders as the other sibling does. And I think in both instances it showed that, there were reasons for acting the way they did, and not just demonizing these other siblings. And I think that's ultimately a very truthful portrayal for.
There's that moment that seems very sincere in the episode where Lore, when he finds out that, Dr. Soong called Data back in order to give him this emotion chip, and Lore's like, maybe now you'll actually, understand your evil. He refers to himself as his evil brother.
Right.
And he says, maybe now you'll actually learn to understand and possibly forgive your evil brother. And I think that's really interesting because I like the way that the writers chose to do the parallels. Little Willy Potts is like super, like, not happy about the situation at all. He's like, why does he have to joke like that? Like, he just doesn't understand. And in a lot of ways, he's like Data. And then the older Potts whose name I still can't remember, and I should have looked it up by now, is I think he's, like you said, more like what's his name?
Jake Potts.
Oh, cool. Jake Potts. Nice. Anyways, so Jake is more like Lore, who is, kind of like a prankster. He's a Loki, basically, character. Which actually, that might have been interesting if Brent Spiner had played Loki, if they made the Thor movies back in the day.
He physically looks like Tom Hiddleston, who plays
Loki
at the moment.
Maybe Tom Hiddleston will play Data in the Kelvin timeline Next Generation movies, which one day might happen.
Is that a thing?
Why can't they be a thing? We get James McAvoy to play Picard, just like he does on
X-Men. Yeah.
And McAvoy will be totally happy to do it, because it's like it's a done deal. He already knows how to be Patrick Stewart, right? it's so ready.
I think you might be misreading that situation.
And who would say no to Star Trek the Next Year? Like James McAvoy for sure had to have been a Star Trek nerd at some point. So.
Do you think so? I don't know.
But I do think that, like, for me emotionally it was pretty poignant, though, because I was very much so like Jacob to my younger sister, and we never had a situation where I poisoned her, but but lots of pranks we'll just say, like, growing up. And I'm happy to say that, oh, look who's waking up, cute. Oh, it's just time to wake up.
Oh my god.
Oh, hello. Hi. We'll play soon.
Does he have anything to say about the brothers?
Yeah.
Maybe we should know his opinion as well. We should get to know his opinion.
What? Do you have an evil brother, Arthur? Do you have an evil brother? Yeah.
Look how serious is he.
Where's your evil brother? Where's your evil brother?
He's hiding something from you.
He's like, you're still on that boob tube?
What?
He's like, what's going on? I took a whole nap. Which
Dad, I want to go outside.
I did get him a leash. It didn't work really well. But he allows me to put it on him, but then he just falls. Like, he doesn't want to do it. He just he lays down and he's like, I don't know what to do. So then I have to try to coerce him with treats.
Oh no. It's like leaving a trail of candy.
He's like this. It's the cutest thing ever, actually, to be honest, but he I don't know if he's very happy. So I haven't. They said 10 minutes a day. We'll see how it goes. Arthur may not be able to be leash trained.
Wow.
But going back to that, what I am happy about is that, at least for humans, sibling relationships on the whole, on average, tend to get better with age. And I'm happy to say that my relationship with my sister now is very, very nice. But it was not. It was very Data Lore. And unfortunately, I was Lore in most of the situations.
Ooh.
Yeah,
it's rough.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
I think that's a natural progression. I think there's always a tough growing point for siblings where things change and everything is tumultuous. Then I think that's where Data and Lore were in this episode. It's a big moment in their lives.
Well, it's sadly it's one of the saddest stories of Star Trek: The Next Generation is Lore and Data's relationship. But what I like is that it's always kind of left open to possible future episodes, because Lore is deactivated and he's not, technically he's somewhere in storage on the Enterprise, or at Starfleet headquarters. It's like the Indiana Jones where the Ark of the Covenant
that
is put
actually
away and stuff
made
like
me
that.
think if he being disassembled after that encounter with the Borg, and he's being kept on storage in the Enterprise D. The Enterprise D being destroyed. No casualties, but the Enterprise D. Oh, as a spoiler, sorry.
No, this is good to know. This
Star
helps
Trek-
me understand.
Well, but the salvage
Star Trek
team.
Generation. Sorry, Star Trek Generation, the 7th movie, the last. Okay, did you see any of the movie, Jamie?
No, I haven't. I think I've seen parts of Generations, but I haven't really.
No, well, but in First Contact we have a different Enterprise.
Yes,
Enterprise
yes, I
D.
do know.
Okay,
that.
then it's not a big spoiler then. So obviously because after D comes D. So, but Enterprise D basically crash landed in the planet, and I'm just kind of thinking if lore was stored in the Enterprise D, was he left there, or was he taken away, or is he destroyed?
No, we know that standard procedure after any kind of vessel of that size. I'm just basing this is like not necessarily something I know for a fact, but I'm basing it on like what we do today or like now. Like if let's say that a aircraft carrier came, crashed ashore somewhere or sank, or something like that. You send out salvage teams to try to get whatever is salvageable. So I would imagine his parts were found among the wreckage. So maybe they're now at Starfleet headquarters. They're somewhere, but I doubt they're lost. It would be interesting, though, if they decided for whatever reason that it was a total loss, and for whatever reason no one remembered. Like Data forgot that lore. I would imagine that Data remembers that lore is on the ship, by the way, but let's just say that everyone forgot about lore. It'd be cool, like, to have it show, like, set 1,000 years later, the return of lore, and you find him on the planet and put him back together, and he tricks everyone into thinking he's Data. That might be interesting.
I just actually looked up to about lore if I can see any information regarding his future, but then there's no futuristic and non-canonical explanation of what happened with him after that.
Because humans are obsessed with the past, and continuity only moves in one direction, and that has to do with the need to procreate.
Which is also beautifully illustrated in this episode.
Yeah.
We usually consult a book that tells us like different facts. There's a lot of information about this episode. Apparently, I'm on a website called Memory Alpha. But I think
I have TrekCore if you're interested behind the scenes facts. It's
why don't you
basically
give
the
us
same
a few?
as Doctor has in Doctor have the same thing I think in
Give us
TNG
a few
Companion.
of those factoids.
There's quite a few. It says Rick Berman makes his TNG debut as a writer in this episode. After Berman initially rejected the idea, not ejected, of bringing back lore, Michael Piller changed his mind, allowing Brent Spiner to double up for the role again. Dr. Soong was considered to play by, originally, Keye Luke, who I don't know, to be honest. Keye Luke.
An actor named Keye
Luke.
Luc?
Luka. Oh yeah, Luke, like Luke Skywalker. Sorry, like Luke. Hey Luke. Another fact is Brent Spiner had a short alternate days as Lord Data and Soong. Well, that's kind of understandable. The Soong makeup took 4 hours to apply. Another fact,
wow.
In a nod to continuity, Lore wears the Pucklet uniform seen in the Samaritan Snare after he claims to have been rescued by the plodding race. Which actually, I remember. You remember a couple of weeks ago, you asked me which one was the first episode that I joined into Starfleet Boy? Samaritan Snare.
Oh, that's right.
I just got myself remembered a couple of days ago, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna let him know.
Oh my gosh, you guys, guess who the actor who would have played Dr. Soong? Guess what other role he played?
Yeah?
Here,
Go on.
You'll like this. He was the old man from Gremlins.
Oh, from Gremlins. Really?
Yes. That would have been Dr. Soong. That would have been interesting.
Wow.
Huh.
All right.
See, they all like that archetype was a real thing at the
Exactly.
time.
It was
It's
so
like all
true.
these characters were interchangeable.
So good. So true.
There's
Anyways.
two other midgets in here. One says Brent Spiner had 2.5 days of shooting on his own for this episode. Basically, I guess that when he played Lord Data and Soong on that scene in the end. And the last fact: the computer fails to record Data's command lockout code correctly if you compare our screen caps with the Brent Spiner delivers on the episode.
Wow.
It's true. I noticed that.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh. That's a good fact.
He actually he says a lot of like names like Victor or something, blah blah blah. And if you
Hang
look
on, I
at
have
the
it here.
screen,
1734673 21476 Charlie 32789777643 Tango 732 Victor 731178887376789764376.
wow.
Sorry.
That was a good read.
My
I
God.
think that was the same page that he wrote it.
Yeah. That seemed like I was trying to see when he was reciting the code. I was trying to figure out if he was reading it directly from a prompter. I was watching his eyes, and it looked like he had actually just memorized it all, which I thought was very impressive.
Wow.
I don't know if that's true.
But funny thing is, I was just checking the command codes, and
That's a crazy thing to remember, Jamie. I'm just kidding.
technically,
Go hell. I will eject you.
Sorry, go on,
But-
Gary.
no, just thinking, Picard had really quite a few codes over the years. Obviously, this long one is just some crazy code that he never even thought about that it turned out from the episode, but he had like quite a few over the years, like Picard Delta 5 or Picard Epsilon 793 or Picard Gamma 6073. He was like constantly changing his passphrase.
Well, it's the same as today.
Well-
We always have to change our passwords all the time.
Every 3 months, yes.
It kind of makes sense.
So
Use
that policy didn't really end it back then. In the 24th century, you still have to.
You still have to do it. You could still be hacked by Russia in the future.
Yeah.
Well, those were some pretty interesting facts. I was trying to find the Pogo video for
Oh, gosh.
Jamie, but I don't know if it's gonna happen.
Can I do screen? I can do screen share here. I can put it up if you want.
Oh,
Yeah, but he won't be able to hear it.
Oh, true. Oh, hang on.
Hold on, I'm almost got it here.
oh,
Got
this
it?
is exciting.
Here we go.
I'll just breathe into the mic in the meantime.
That's a very good muffler.
Join to the dark side.
Back when I was in the academy, we would follow every toast with a song.
Anyways, this is the song. But then the part that you'll like, let me see if I can find it. From this episode.
Oh, wow. Holy smokes.
Wait. You don't know that episode.
What is this?
This is Pogo.
What is Pogo? I'm sorry.
Pogo's like a musician on the internet, and he did a Star Trek.
Oh my gosh.
Not even one. He has like 2 more, but
He has like a few, but this is his best one. And
Yeah.
like he even like has uniforms that are accurate, and like everything just looks
That
really
is-
accurate.
Too good.
All right, here it comes.
That's insane.
He even says lock at the end.
Nice. Wow. How many views does that have?
Oh,
I
millions.
think about 2 million.
It's like 2
No,
million
that's
or something.
crazy. Man,
Quite a
the
few million,
internet.
yes.
It's like one of the best things ever. Just like, obviously, I mean, we're still.
I mean,
talking
yeah,
about
your
it.
words, not mine, but totally. It looks great. He bears a remarkable resemblance to Brent Spiner.
Yes, there's.
What are
there's
the
a lot of
odds?
things. What are the odds? Okay, well, I think we've exhausted this episode.
Are we at 2 hours yet?
We're near
Wow.
there. 85 minutes. 85
We've talked
minutes.
about the episode for more than twice as long as the actual
Yeah,
episode.
that's what I was saying. Before we go, I don't do a good enough job of this. We always say we're going to answer questions that come from the YouTube channel comment section, but I haven't done it yet. So what I'm actually working on is we're going to do another captain's update pretty soon, and in that episode we're going to answer. But I just want to say thank you to the audience, both on YouTube and the podcast listeners, especially if you've made it this far in our discussion. And thank you for Starfleet Boy now has an like an actual, like, you can navigate to us by going to youtube.com/c/Starfleet Boy. So it's very easy to find Starfleet Boy now because
Nice.
I graduated to the next level apparently on YouTube, which which is exciting. So
That's
thank
awesome.
you to the wonderful Starfleet people out there that have helped to get us there. So this episode marks that occasion, and thank you to you gentlemen for coming on the show and talking with me about Star Trek. And yeah,
Holy moly! I just a quick fact. You're on 103. You passed the 100 followers milestone in YouTube. So congratulations.
Yeah, that's what graduated me to this next level. So that's very exciting for me. Yeah. So
Congratulations.
Starfleet Boy, whoa! We graduated from a cargo ship to a frigate. So
Nice.
All right, so I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for being on the show. Live long and prosper, and we'll be looking forward to the next discussion, which is Suddenly Human, I think. All right. Bye.
Eject us all.
What?
Eject us all.
I'm ejecting everyone now.
Woo!